Guys, hope you're doing well. We're actually getting some reasonable weather, and I'm gearing up to do another instructional video for the Forge Memory family. So I'm going to use this kind of as the my dry run, so I get some ideas on it. And I'll tell you what I find a lot of, and that's hammerheads at flea markets, at auctions, secondhand. I get a lot of hammers, and I don't need that many hammers, claw hammers. I don't. Somebody's going to catch me on that one. How many hammers do you need as a blacksmith or a bladesmith? Always one more. But I don't use too many claw hammers. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of take you guys through, as long as I have enough battery here, and process up some of these hammers and start turning them into tomahawks. So the first thing I'm going to do, I need to get rid of this handle. Now I can drive that out, I can do whatever. In fact, this one might drive out. If it doesn't, then I get out my saw and I commence to saw away. Now, if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to like and subscribe. Hit that notification button. Are forgeable. You will at some point, if you do this enough, you'll find cast hammerheads, and they squish like red hot mashed potatoes. Not ideal, but this looks like it's probably a decent hammerhead. And I can make out drop forge. Now whether it really is or not, I don't know. Set that over here for now. Now a lot of people ask me, they'll say, well, do you draw that out into a spike? For these, no, I don't. What I do is I forge out, and then I'm going to have to remove the claw. I forged that straight, so I've got something to hold on to with the tongs. But that claw gets removed. The eye is shortened. As you can see here, this portion right here will get shortened. And then essentially I'm going to come in here and make my tomahawk. It will be drifted to take a tomahawk handle, but that's kind of at your discretion on what kind of handle you want in there. I like tomahawk handles. Now I have a hammerhead in the forge at the moment, and I'm going to show you what I've done so far. Here's an example of one that has a very round eye. Now I dripped that out round instead of working from square. It's easier for me to teardrop and basically get a better flow from the eye to the blade when it's forged out. And I'm going to show you how I forge that blade out. Once more, great time to subscribe if you haven't already. Let's drop this down just a little bit. So it doesn't take very long for that to start turning into an axe. Now, different types of hammer heads are going to have different types of hammer faces, and they're going to be different sizes, different weights. But this works well to turn into a tomahawk or an axe because we have, it's been near the forge, so I have to be cautious, it could be hot. We have a lot of material, we have more material here on the hammer face than we do on what I refer to as the neck. So this allows me to spread more material out here to make that axe blade. Now you can do this with different types of hammers. I'm using claw hammers right now because for the longest time I was literally just throwing the things away because people bring them to me and I'm like, hey, it's not worth my while. Then I adjusted. I developed the technique and got the minimal tooling required, and I'll tell you what, man, I should have kept those hammerheads, you know. Some of them I made with square eyes, you know, when I started, and just put a hammer handle back into it, but it's not what I want to do here. I want to refine it a little more. So I'm going to assembly line these. I'm going to go through and I'm going to forge out each blade first. Now, why would you use a hammer to make an axe? Well, there's a couple reasons. One, looking at steel that's compatible. We're looking at steel that has similar properties for both tools. Does it need to take impact? Yeah, it does. Does it need to have an eye? We already have an opening here that can be modified for a different type of handle. So proportion-wise, weight-wise, if you're, you know, you're looking at a one-handed tool, well, would this be an approximate weight that I can make an axe from? It is. So that could work well. So why should you make tomahawks from old hammerheads? Well, simple. It's easy and fun and convenient. How's everyone doing? Johnny Kenny, hope you're doing well. Guys, it doesn't require a lot of tooling. It doesn't require a lot of time. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to teardrop that eye. I'm going to start not quite halfway and then pull back. I'm going to go to the other side. It's starting not quite halfway. And you can see that is a terrible smashed teardrop shape that really is not, it's not quite the shape we want yet, but that's okay. What I have next, we're going to come over here to my switch block, and I have a Tomahawk grip with an extension for a handle. This is a piece of pipe with a cap welded on it, and then there's also there's a piece of sucker rod or rebar in here. I think it's rebar, and that way I'm mushrooming. This is all smashed together. In fact, it was hot fit, and then as it cooled, it kind of clamped on there. Now sometimes I lubricate these, sometimes I don't. And then I have a receiver. Let me get another receiver. These will often come with a receiver or a bottom die. And I recommend having one. Now I went ahead and I notched out on this one and welded it to a piece of a pipe union and then a nipple. I don't know if that's a union, but that's not a union. But that fits down into my switch block really nice. Now I do have some hammers that are a little bit heavier than I would normally use. But we'll start this with, let's say, a 3-pound. And first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start bottom up. And you can see how that has now formed to the drift. Bottom side. Top side's still not so good. We're going to let that come up to temperature. And we're going to continue to drip that primarily from the bottom, but we've also got to get the top to where it's in a good position. And we're going to go quite a ways up onto this because we want to be able to spit, in this case, a full-size Tomahawk handle. Okay, guys, I can't see with all the comments, so I kind of have to put my hand down to see where I'm at. I'm going to turn the temp up on the forge. And my straight peen, you notice that works real good for knocking that Tomahawk off the drift, because not only am I wedging that on there, but as that steel contracts or cools, it contracts around the drift itself. So now that I have, hold on. Now that I have a fairly even drifting on the bottom and the top, I'm going to go back to the bottom, and I'm primarily going to work from bottom to top. Now, if I get this much larger than the top, and keep in mind the handle's going to come in and friction fit from the top, then I'll go back and I'll open the top up. But there's a reason I do bottom to top until the final drifting, essentially with adjustment in between. And that is because when you have this lower beard, this lower flare, the lower flare of the blade here, a lot of times this can get bent out of shape, it can bend out of alignment. And of course, after I get to the point of having this at an appropriate height on my drift, I'm going to check for alignment, 90 degrees approximate to the handle itself. So I want that, well, 90 degrees would be here, but, so I'm sorry on that, I was wrong. I want it in alignment with the handle. When I'm doing an adze or I'm doing a forager hawk, I will set the hoe blade or the adze blade 90 degrees in estimation to the eye or the handle. So you want it in line, not only in line with the handle as far as being vertical, but you also want it to not be curved to one side, unless you're doing a single side like a broad axe type or whatever. That's your thing if you are. Let's get a bigger hand. Remember, don't force it. Get a bigger hammer. We can see that the bottom is a lot larger than the top now. But I think if I continue to work at a higher heat and using a heavier hammer, this is probably an 8-pound. I believe this is an 8-pound. It's on a short handle, but this also allows me to still get a two-hand grip and be up close if needed. All right. So am I going to show you guys how I'm going to do every one of these? No, I'm not. But I am hoping that I get that particular piece up to essentially a finished item. And if I have enough time and enough battery, I'm going to backtrack and show you how I make that square eye round prior to doing everything that I've done so far. Now, the bottom is a lot larger than the top. I'm going to go back to the top. And I know I said primarily I'm going to work bottom up on this. Now, why am I going to go ahead and go to the top? Well, very simple, because that top is constricting the rest of that coming through. If I open the top up, equivalent to the bottom essentially, then it's going to allow for an easier pass through and less friction when I do that. So watch this. Once I get up to temp, I'll hit it just a couple times and that top will open up really quick. Now you want to be cautious about this. If you have a hammer eye that is too thin and you keep stretching, you can tear it apart. Just like taking clay or Play-Doh and pulling it. Taffy, if you would. Let me go get some taffy later. And what that will do is, you know, essentially it just keeps getting thinner until you have a failure. And we don't want a failure here. But when it comes to progress and success, expect a degree of failure, a percentage of projects not making it to fruition. Okay, so this is where we're going to go ahead and open everything up on top. I'm still probably at least an 1/8 inch thick on the sides, so that's going to be fine. We're making a fair amount of progress here. Now, how far do I want to run up onto my drift? Well, I would think that, as you can see, where it's shiny and where it's still dark, that I'm going to want to come up kind of into this particular area. I don't want to drive it clear to the top. One, because a lot of Tomahawk handles are not that large, and two, if I didn't have this handle and I drove my drift completely through, so let's say I was working with this drift, and here is my maximum width, and I drive that through, I'm not going to have any taper. And I definitely want to taper from top to bottom in the end. Just about there. So I'm going to do probably one more heat bottom up and then come in top to bottom with 1 to 2 heats. And I think that's going to work well. I've had people ask, they're like, why do you go through and make so many Tomahawks? Because I have that many hammerheads or other, or I have other materials that I can do that with, you know. I've had guys bring me camp axes that, you know, small hatchets and stuff that they wanted reforged. I've done that too. Some forge better than others. And with items that are drop forged, you have to be cautious, because in most cases, those are done in one heat. And sometimes towards the end of that heat, they're getting kind of cool. And if you think about it, what shouldn't you do? You shouldn't hammer on cold steel. That's cold steel. You're likely to fracture that out. I mean, you will find hammers that have damage. You see a little chip right there. Damage to the face and mushrooming. And so there's times when you start forging it out, you see a frayed edge, essentially. Well, guys, that's kind of getting to the point where you might want to consider cutting that off and evaluating check out your grain structure. With recycled materials, you never know what you're going to get. And if you buy new hammers, you never know what you're going to get. But is it fun? Is it something that you can enjoy and try out? Absolutely. And I hope that you do. Be sure to check out the links in the description to Turtle Island Preserve, to the Forge Memory Family, and of course, Iron Mountain Metal Craft. All right, let's get back to drifting. All right, we're doing another bottom up right here. Right, and I think that is close enough. Didn't want to come off there. Next, we're going to come in top to bottom. Now look at the difference. There's the bottom. There's the top. I'm going to get this up to a high heat. I'm going to try to do this in one heat. And one thing I'm going to do, if that blade is cocked to the side, if it is offset, I'm going to come over here to my vise, clamp it in, and torque it. So, two things I'm going to do. One, make sure my vise is empty. Move my hammer I was playing with. Tighten it down a little bit. Preset the jaw. What am I going to do next? Get some gloves ready. Why do I need my gloves ready? Well, very simple. If I have a glove on my hammer hand and I start hammering, something's going to happen. I'm not going to have full control of this with this on. Why? Well, this is not attached to me. This has movement, and it is likely that I'm not going to have as much control as what I would with a bare hand. So generally, I don't wear a glove on my hammer hand, and I also I'm right hand. It looks like left hand in my selfie cam, but I'm right hand dominant, but I forge both sides because it keeps me balanced out and less back pain, shoulder pain, and so I can work longer that way. And this is what I do for a living. So, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come over here. We're going to set. And I'm going to try to do this in one heat, no guarantee. I'm going to go ahead and get one glove on. Here we go. Okay, got it. From here, I put my second glove on. I'm going to leave this on the drift. Come over here. I'm going to sight it. Yep, it is off. I'm going to clamp up close to the eye. And I'm going to torque that. I'm going to check it for alignment. There we are. Pretty well in line. Now, not out of the woods yet on this. I need to check. This one is off a little bit, but it's going to work. I want it to be primarily in line with the eye and not be scooped off to one side. So, looking good. It is looking good. I'm going to show you how I drip that eye out round. Now this has pretty good thicknesses as far as the walls of the eye. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you how I get from this point to this point. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to heat the claw. Heat the claw and straighten it out. Now, for those of you who don't have a power hammer, build one or buy one, okay? They're awesome to have, and they will increase your productivity, allow you to make more items, and get better in the course of the matter. Now, keep in mind, I'm going to amputate or sever that claw once I get done using it as a handle for my tongs. This allows for a convenient handle. Now you can leave a little hammer face on there. I have a friend, he went ahead and forge welded that together and made a spike tomahawk. Hey, if that's what you do, that's what you do. You do you, I'll do me. We'll all get along and talk about how we make tomahawks and stuff. There's no reason to hate each other, guys. All right, so as that comes up to temperature, I want it at a reasonable forge heat at least. Now, this is a time, if that's a cast head, it's going to break. If it is stressed, it's likely going to break. We're going to find out. What I'm going to do in the meantime, I'm going to get another hammerhead ready, just in case. And, I mean, when it comes down to it, I need to have another one ready because I'm going through and doing up hammerheads. So here we are. Can I drive it out? That one's a little tougher. I probably can if I keep fighting it. Let me show you a trick. First of all, set your hammer end face up because your claw comes down. Grab your handy dandy handsaw. Let's get a little bit of a pinch right there. Well, almost. Well, how am I going to take that off there? Pretty simple. It's cracking out right there. I don't know. I guess I can come in from the side, but it's difficult to come in from the claw end. Abracadabra. And just like that, you too can take the head off a good hammer. So guess what? I have a forge back there. I'm going to burn that out. When it's time. Okay, now I used to do this using my press or using my anvil, and I'm going to go back to using the power hammer here. if it's gonna go, it's gonna go. Light tap it first. And now get back in the forge before you lose your heat. All right. What am I making? Frozen grapes, 1178. I am forging hammer heads into tomahawks. I need that hammerhead to get up to temp pretty good before I do what I'm going to do next. Let me get a couple things set up here. And let me show you what this is supposed to look like when I'm done. If you guys don't have your safety goggles on, get them on. Just in case, right? So the claw's been removed. Nip the top of the blade. Now I want to shorten it just a little bit, maybe. Yeah, I can. I can, but you know what? Now that I start looking at this, I think I should do a little more. Leave a little material there. So one, I don't want the remainder of my notch right here. Take that lump out right there. Profile the edge. Now we're going to cut in the bevel. I like that one. I'll get a batch of those done, then I'll do my heat treat. Or get a batch of them ready to heat treat, rather. Okay, so I don't need this yet. I'm going to take this, put them to the side. I'm going to have a couple of punches. I'm going to throw that on the ground. And I'm also going to get my Pritchard punch. Okay. So first things first, I want to start turning that round. Well, it was square, and now it's going around. So next, I bet I can start using my Pritchard punch. Now this one, there we go. I used a hatchet handle that I had saved. With the impact and everything, these handles don't last too long on these, so I didn't want to use a good one. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to drive that down through. Some people would recommend go ahead and take these out so you don't hit your knuckles on them. This should be far enough away. Once more, coming in from the top. There we hit and bounce. And we've run to the maximum on the Pritchard punch. Now right now you can see how much wider that is. It's opened up like one of my ex-wives after a bender weekend. Let's go ahead and do the underside now. Okay, once more, if you haven't liked and subscribed yet, be sure to do so. You'll notice I'm using a couple different types of hammers. This 3-pound cross peen is not my favorite, but I'll tell you what, for drifting, it works really well. Now my Purgatory Ironworks, it's seen years of daily use and still here, but getting ready to get replaced. That face has lost quite a bit of material over time. I use that for knocking the head off the drift, essentially. I'd say the drift out of the head, but it's more of the opposite. So what I'm going to do is I want to recommend, be sure to get plenty of top tools. If you're going to do this on a regular basis, invest in yourself, invest in your tooling, and invest in your education. And that's not just learning from myself, that's learning from other sources, as long as it's a good source. I want to say I'm probably a good source. right there. Looking good. Bam. So now we've taken that small square hammer eye, really opened it up, and that's going to make it a lot easier to drift once we teardrop it to put that tomahawk handle in. In fact, this one's thick enough. I might try to do that full size. We'll find out. I'm going to set that one to the side. I should take advantage of it and just hit the, keep the heat, keep it going. But now I'm going to take this hammerhead and I'm going to get the wood out of it. And that's going to be accomplished by using my forge burr. Now, if you were going to rehandle that as a hammer, don't do that. You're going to take the hardness out of the head, and it's not going to be it's not going to be good. One thing I do want to touch on, if you are forging hammers into tomahawks or anything else, be aware that there was a common practice in older times of only using hard steel for the striking surfaces. If you do that, this is what I'm going to tell you. If you come across a hammer like that, if you grind away or cut off that hard steel, you're going to end up with a soft body. This one, I don't know what I'm going to do with. Once I wear that face down, I can weld a new piece on, reheat treat it, but I think I'm going to turn it into a cool tomahawk. Out of a $120 hammer, I'm going to turn 120 into a damn tomahawk. That I'm probably going to keep because I like that hammer. But you may be able to see we've got additional flames here as the wood's burning out. And it doesn't have to burn away completely, but I do have to get it to be, basically not be attached to the inside of that eye, not be wedged in there anymore. So, I want to show you what I'm going to do. One, I'm going to take a look here and see where I'm at. Take my punch here. Push that out. I'm going to get that back in the forge. Right here, now there's something here that I want. I want those wedges. I save my wedges and I reuse them. Once more, if you haven't subscribed yet, please be sure to do so. I want to go ahead and turn the power hammer on, and I'm going to come over here and straighten out those claws. Not quite up to temperature yet. How's everybody doing? Okay, frozen grapes 1178. Do I sell them? Yes, I do sell them. There is a link to my Facebook page in the description. Go check it out. You can check out the Etsy store as well. I don't have any on the Etsy store yet, but I will soon. right, now I'm going to show you this. You see how much thinner that eye is? I can drip that out round, but it's going to be more of a pain to do so. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let this one cool. And this was a Ward's Master quality. Wow, I hope that wasn't an expensive hammer by any means. I don't think it was. But I'm going to come in here and I'm going to cut that off. And then I'm going to do my drifting. Why not do it now, right? Now, you got to be real careful doing this because sometimes too much heat on a cutoff disc can cause a catastrophic failure. And then sometimes you can pull the top off of your light stand and it'll fall over. Yeah, that aluminum threading is pretty well stripped out. Now, generally what I'm going to do when I finish these out is if there's anything stamped on the side, I try to grind that off. I had one that I left, and occasionally I will, like if it says a weight or something, sometimes I'll leave 24 ounce on there, and people will be like, was that made out of a hammer? Yes, it was. But I'll tell you what else. I had one, it was a Chaplace. I wish I would have turned that into Tomahawk. Showed it to my buddy Robbie Bowman. He was like, oh, that was worth some money. I said, yeah, not anymore. That's just worth Tomahawk money. But I'm going to go ahead and grip this one out round because I do that. And then I'll probably end the video shortly. Guys, we're just coming up on an hour now, and if you have not subscribed yet, now's a great time to do so. In the description, you're going to find links to the Turtle Island Preserve, Eustace Conway's from Mountain Men on the History Channel. Check it out. There's a lot of cool classes coming up available this year. You're going to find a link to the Forge of Memory family, where you can go and learn how to do this step by step from industry professionals and top bladesmiths and blacksmiths. There's a link to Iron Mountain Metalcraft, where this all started, Forge of Memory. Be sure to check them out. And there's a link there to one of my Facebook business pages. Drop me a line, say hi, and if there's something you're looking for, let me know. Guys, we're just about up to temp, and we are coming down on time. So you know what? It's coming to that point where all we worry about is getting it hot and pounding it hard. And that's how blacksmithing is a lot like dating. All right, guys, here we go. That grip's a little warm, so I'm going to go ahead and get a glove. Somebody else is going to liken that to dating as well. Hey, you do you. Back in the forge before we lose too much heat. All right. Adjust that down just a little bit more. Now, I generally try to align these with the handle on the punch, because these punches can be off ground. keep it aligned that way, sometimes it keeps it at a midpoint, you know. Getting her opened up. I'm going to go ahead and come in from the top real quick. That thing right there, I didn't pay that much for that. I got that at a yard sale or something, and probably a flea market. I'll tell you what, man, I use those punches a lot for making axes and hammers. I really do. We're less than 3 minutes away from the hour mark. Be sure to check out the link in the description. And drop me a line. Let me know what you want to see in future videos. Also, be sure to subscribe to my channel. And check out some of the other builds. There's videos on firearm reviews. There are videos on forging. Probably videos on casting. I know there's several on foreign pewter. Share it out. Tell your friends. It's a great thing. Share knowledge and keep an open mind and learn. All right, here we go. Coming in from the top. Guys, I think I can hit this one from the bottom real quick. Please don't crack out. Yeah, just like that. Well, that one is going back into the forge, and I'm going to go ahead and turn that into a small tomahawk. Well, I'm turning it into a tomahawk or a belt axe. Once more, be sure to check us out. And if you're in Central Illinois passing through on Route 40 or Interstate 70, be sure to stop in here at 409 North Main Street in St. Elmo. Guys, I'm going to turn this around and show you just a little bit of what we've got going on in here. Of course, we do have the forging experiences. We've got axe throwing over there and axe on main. I don't have the lights on yet. Cheyenne Brown, Forged in Fire contestant, season 9, episode 5. She's got a lot of work in here. Cheyenne's at her other job right now. See some of her stabilized materials. And we have a lot of fun stuff. We got some just fun novelty things. And then we have like our American Frontier series. We've got some of our touristy wrench knives. Instructional DVDs. Here's a couple kitchen knives. War clubs. Tomahawks. D-guards. More tomahawks. Jerry Rhodes beadwork from Rhodes Primitives. A bunch of stuff that I'm hoping guys come and pick up soon because I need to pay bills. A bunch of Bowie knives. Atlas Knife and Tool 1078 high carbon spike knives. Classic American Hunters, poured pewter. More tomahawks and trappers axes. And then American Puco series, man, these are selling like crazy. And as you might be able to tell here, Cheyenne's got some more handle material to work up. So guys, be sure to stop in. Check us out on Forged in Fire. Myself, season 4, episode 2. Cheyenne, season 9, episode 5. Robbie Bowman, season 3 and 4, episodes 5. And also Master of Arms on Discovery Channel, season 1, episode 1. Flintlock axe pistol. Guys, just hit just past the hour mark. We're going to catch you a little bit later. You have a great one, and hope to see you soon.